evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Busey Bank Field at Joliet Memorial Stadium for tonight's Chicagoland Collegiate Athletic Conference matchup between the Red Hawks of Indiana University Northwest and your Fighting Saints. This time, let's introduce tonight's starting lineups. First, for Indiana Northwest, in goal, number 1, Isabel Escalera. Number 3, Dusty Stoner. Number 4, Marissa Paredes. Number 8, Ava Haluska. Number 10, Ciamora Santana. Number 12, Gabriela Maldonado. Number 19, Kendall Karuba. Number 20, Nora Lober. Number 23, Erin Harrison. Number 29, Gianna White. And number 30, Madison Polson. Indiana Northwest is coached by Jamie McNicholas. And now the starting lineup for your Fighting Saints. Number 2, Ishel Palayo. Number 5, Jasmine Ballas. Number 7, Kelly Flores. Number 9, Lindsay Flores. Number 10, Ari Gonzalez. Number 14, Mia O'Connor. Number 15, Citlali Perez. Number 16, Cara Planeta. Number 23, Andrea Aguera. Number 24, Isabel Diaz. And in goal, number 77, Giselle Mata. The Fighting Saints are coached by Al Pilar. Tonight's officials, the head referee, Besnik Rexepi, the assistant referees, Jeremy Caden and Hyon Lim. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we ask you to please rise as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem.
Good evening from Joliet, Illinois, Joliet Memorial Stadium, the home of today's CCAC soccer matchup as the Fighting Saints of St. Francis take on the Indiana University Northwest Red Hawks In a big conference battle, Terry Bonadonna with you. I'm on the call for today's game. As the Fighting Saints try to make it back-to-back wins. They're also looking to win their 5th out of their last 6 contests. Their only loss during that stretch was 1 week ago here at home. A tough 1-0 decision against St. Xavier. St. Xavier is one of just a couple of teams that currently sits ahead of St. Francis in the conference standings, but the Saints are very much in the running for the regular season conference championship with just a few weeks remaining in the regular season. St. Francis is out on the field, ready to get today's game started. Indiana Northwest will be joining them in just a moment. Saints wearing silver and gold today, going from left to right during the first half of today's contest. They'll be shooting into the south goal. Indiana Northwest is in red and black. They'll be moving from right to left and shooting into the north goal. It's a rough day weather-wise outside, cold and gusty, rain's falling softly at the moment, but it shouldn't be, I don't think, too much harder than this over the course of the day. The rain will probably come and go over the next couple of hours. But as I said, it is coming down softly. It's chilly out there. Can't complain. We've had some lovely weather for most of the games this season, but today isn't one of them as we near the end of the season. Indiana Northwest finally out there ready to get started. And away we go. The Redhawks take the opening kick and start to make their move right to left. Let's run through the starters one more time in this game. Starting with Indiana Northwest. Dusty Stoner, Marissa Paredes, Ava Haluska, Xiomara Santana, Gabby Maldonado, Kendall Karuba, Nora Lobert, Aaron Harrison, Gianna Whitty, and Madison Polzin are their starting 10 in front of the 11th. Goalkeeper Izzy Escalera, who has played all but one half in net for Indiana Northwest this year. I'll run through her stats in just a few moments. First, the Saints try to make a move on this Indiana Northwest defense. The starters for USF today include Ishel Palayo, Jasmine Valles, Kelly Flores, Litzy Flores, Ari Gonzalez, Mia Okana, Citlali Perez, Cara Planeta, Andrea Aguirre, Isabel Diaz, and their goalkeeper is Giselle Mata. We'll run through her numbers in just a moment as well. St. Francis on the far side of the field, trying to push it ahead. They're dominating possession over the opening minute of today's game. IUNW took the first kick. St. Francis took it away immediately, and they're not giving it up, but they haven't been able to make any kind of move as the defense for Indiana Northwest has, at least for the first 90 seconds or so of the match, proved impenetrable. I'm not going to read too much into what I see in 90 seconds, but the fact that St. Francis has had the ball that entire time and just hasn't seemed to be able to make a move towards the goal is a good sign early on for the defense of Indiana Northwest. Good sign from the midfield of St. Francis that they haven't been given the ball up. It's Cara Planeta passing it back. Rolled off towards the far sideline and pushed back to the defensive line. Let's take a look at those goalkeepers that I mentioned a moment ago. Izzy Escalera, as I mentioned before, has played all but 45 minutes in net for the Redhawks. She's allowed 15 goals and made 66 saves. That's an impressive .815 save percentage. She's allowing an average of only 1.03 goals per game this year. She's got 6 shutouts on the season, including 2 of the last 3 matches. Worth noting that Indiana Northwest didn't win either of those. Knocked out of bounds, last touched by Mia Okana. Throw-in coming up for Indiana Northwest. Giselle Mata, likewise, has been in the net for all but 1 game. Katie Morellis played a full 90 minutes overall this year for St. Francis, so Mata has appeared in just 13 of their first 14. She's allowed only 10 goals this season, 86 saves. It's an .896 percentage. Very impressive, 0.77 goals allowed per contest. She's got 7 shutouts this year, and St. Francis is coming off of a 3-0 shutout victory against Calumet St. Joe's over the weekend. That was a big win for them after they had fallen on Wednesday in a big matchup against St. Xavier. Just over 3 minutes into today's matchup. No score yet, no offensive momentum for Indiana Northwest, who finally tries to make a push towards the St. Francis defense. but the defense makes that stop very quickly. Giselle Mata wearing black in net today, boots it off. Here come the Fighting Saints. That's a long run down towards the corner. O'Connor trying to make the run, but she can't get there before the defense does. Indiana Northwest pushes up the sideline. It's Paredes. Off the foot of Marissa Paredes and rolled out of bounds. Gabby Maldonado tried to get her the pass, didn't work out. So for St. Francis, it's Lally Perez coming off of the best game of her Fighting Saints career. Scored 2 goals on Saturday against Calumet. Planeta up from the defensive line. St. Francis putting 8 players forward right now. Only 2 defenders back at the moment. One of those defenders steps up across midfield to play this ball. Sent away off the right foot of Andrea Aguirre. And cleared by Indiana Northwest, but only briefly. Couldn't keep it alive. Aaron Harrison had an awkward touch of the ball. St. Francis takes it right back. We're still very early, not yet 5 minutes in, but what I said at the 90-second mark remains true. Saints just aren't giving the ball up right now. Try to turn that into a shot here as it's pushed into the box and nobody there to receive it for the Fighting Saints. It rolls weakly into the hands of the goalkeeper, Izzy Escalera. Won't be a save for Escalera. She gets herself involved in the game for the first time. That was an errant pass that rolled off to the right of the net. Escalera tracked it down. Ball sent towards the sideline by the Redhawks. This is Paredes. Paredes loses it. Good challenge from Kelly Flores. Saints on the move again. Far side of the field. And back across midfield for St. Francis to defense. They maintain possession. Aguirre rolls it off to Flores. Kelly Flores, one of the primary ball handlers in the midfield, pushes it ahead on one bounce picked up by Escalera. Flores is a player who is often in control of the ball. I would say, along with Mia Okana, they get the most touches on a daily basis for St. Francis. Flores leads the team with 62 shots this year. Only ranks 3rd on the team in goals scored, but 62 shots, 33 shots on goals. They're not always the most powerful shots, not always the highest percentage to go in, but she is clearly the most aggressive player on the team offensively. Trying to create plays. She tried to create one before, didn't work out, but the Saints have the ball right back in their possession. Possession time still just dominated by the Saints early on in today's game, and they'll keep it here as Madison Polzin gives her defense a chance to get back in position by kicking the ball out of bounds for a St. Francis throw-in. Planeta tosses it into Flores. Tapped right back to Planeta. And over to Kelly Flores again. Flores sets up Isabel Diaz, the conference's leading scorer. Diaz has been a little bit quiet offensively recently, so she'll try to turn that around today. The ball is loose on the far side of the field, tracked down by the Fighting Saints. There's the cross right in front of the net, and Escalera is able to dive on top of it. Good play by Izzy Escalera as Mia Okana tried to make a run towards the net on a good ball that went through the defense. Escalera got there just a hair ahead of Okana and did not allow the latter to get a shot off. Throw in for the Fighting Saints. It's getting redundant right now to say the ball is across midfield into the attacking zone for St. Francis. Planeta surveys the scene, sends it towards the middle of the field, and immediately kicked away by Madison Polzin. Planeta taps it ahead. Pushed to the outside, near sideline, it's Kelly Flores, and headed out of bounds off of Nora Lobert, senior defender for Indiana Northwest. Here's Kelly Flores once again. Flores rolls it past 2 defenders, gets it right back. Flores, a couple of dribbles, gets her way into the box, takes the shot, and it's deflected before it can reach Izzy Escalera. Good defense from the Redhawks. Looked like a really nice opportunity for Kelly Flores. It comes up short, but the Saints are right back in possession, trying to make another push. Far side of the field, Diaz losing possession. Back into the box, knocked away. Down into the corner, out of bounds. And another throw-in is coming up for the Fighting Saints. Into the attacking third of the field right now. St. Francis remains in possession. Tossed back to the midfield. This is Aguirre who steps up, takes the long-range shot, and it's smothered by Escalera. Good save. Andrea Aguirre steps up and takes a rare shot from the defensive side of the field. That was just her 7th shot of the season. She has not scored a goal. But the Saints have been able to push more defenders ahead because there hasn't been much of an attack from Indiana Northwest. They're trying to change that right now. This is the deepest they've had possession into St. Francis territory all game. Aaron Harrison trying to set it up. Passes to the middle of the field, right in front of the net. A turn, a shot. It's a save from Giselle Mata. Big save from Mata on a very tough play. Indiana Northwest will try again, but it's out of bounds. That was by far the best scoring opportunity of the game for either team. Gabby Maldonado able to get a shot off right in front of the net. But for a great save from Mata, we'd be looking at a 1-0 Red Hawks lead, which is incredible to think about, considering how this game has been dominated by St. Francis. That was the first time all game in now over 10 minutes that Indiana Northwest has had control of the ball on the attacking side of the field. And the first time they almost generate a goal. Doesn't end up happening for them, though, as St. Francis takes the ball back deep into the corner. Push back outside to O'Connor, and O'Connor loses it off the first touch. Knocked away by Marissa Paredes, who pushes downfield. Nobody there, but Giselle Mata, who forces it back across the midfield stripe. A little bit less dramatic play this time from Giselle Mata as she reinserts herself into the action. Flores taps to the outside. Down the sideline, stays in bounds. Saints remain on the attack, but it's taken away by the Indiana Northwest defense. Throw in for St. Francis. Two defenders are able to take the ball away from Ari Gonzalez. But USF is back in control. Kelly Flores takes it to the near side of the field. Along the sideline, passed back to Planeta. Mia O'Connor into the middle of the field. Back to O'Connor from Diaz. Here's Kelly Flores on the near sideline. Flores crosses it. One bounce. It's intercepted by Indiana Northwest. The attack comes up empty for St. Francis, but they'll try it again. It's Diaz. Pass intercepted. Good quick deflection right there from Ava Haluska. Just over 12 minutes into the action. No score yet in a game that has been dominated by St. Francis overall, despite what overall really has been a lack of strong offensive chances. They've controlled possession. They've kept the ball on the plus side of the field. They're going to try to do that again right here as they take it away. Lost out of bounds. Last touched by the team in red. Saints have dominated this series overall over the last 5 years since Indiana Northwest joined the CCAC. Fighting Saints have never lost to them. 5-0, and they have never allowed a goal. They've outscored the Red Hawks 20-0 in those 5 games. So they'll try to keep that trend alive here as they continue their quest for the conference championship. It's Planeta working her way around two defenders. Her pass back towards Flores is deflected, but it finds another Fighting Saint as Aguirre steps up from the defense. Cleared for the moment. Saints get it back, though. There's the cross from Planeta, is not able to squeak through. O'Connor off the deflection. Here comes Kelly Flores working against Maldonado. Flores turns, fires a shot with the left foot, and it's saved by Escalera. Good play by Escalera. Not the most difficult save, but she put herself in good position to stop it. As Flores takes another very aggressive shot, and the Saints remain scoreless despite it. Knocked out of bounds right along the Indiana Northwest bench. Throw in here for the Fighting Saints. Flores passes back. Worked around to the near side. Planeta. Kara Planeta crosses the field with it. Saints are taking their time on this possession. Pushed ahead and knocked loose by Dusty Stoner. Saints will try it again. Knocked away from Perez. Loose ball secured by the Fighting Saints. Perez passes to her right. Along the sideline, it's Planeta. Kara Planeta lofts one in front of the net. Deflected. It's loose right in front of the net and knocked free by the IUNW defense. Strong defense by the visiting side. Another attempt for St. Francis. The shot hits off the crossbar, deflects back onto the field. Finds its way back to Isabel Diaz, who took the last shot. Diaz marches forward, has it challenged and knocked away. Good attempt from Diaz a moment ago. Just about a foot or so high. As she made an attempt at her 11th goal of the season. Deflected right back into play, so it was still a chance for St. Francis, but they come up empty. So now it's the Red Hawks on the move. Working from right to left, far side of the field, knocked away. Throw in for the Fighting Saints. On defense, the Saints push forward. It's Flores. Long ball ahead to Kara Planeta. Planeta can't quite get there. A little bit too much juice on that ball. Planeta had been able to get there just one step quicker. If the ball had halted for her, she could have poked it right past Escalera, who had stepped up out of the net. But the ball skidded a little bit too fast. Here's a good run for Erin Harrison. Harrison sets herself up in front of the net, cleared by the Saints. Good run from Harrison, one of the better ones we've seen today. But nothing doing for the Red Hawks as that ball is a little bit too far out in front of O'Connor. Throw in for Nora Lobert and the Red Hawks. Haluska off to the right. This is Polzin. Xiomara Santana trying to make something happen for IU Northwest. Knocked out of bounds by the Fighting Saints. 17 minutes into the game, no score. It's been St. Francis's midfield in control of this game so far. Not a whole lot of scoring chances, but a lot of possession for the Saints. Right now, though, it's the Red Hawks in control. Passed into the middle of the field. For a shot on one bounce picked up by Mata off the foot of Kendall Karuba. So Karuba is unable to score. Mata makes the save. She made a really good one earlier this half. That time a pretty easy stop for her. A little bit too far out in front of O'Connor, taken away. Red Hawks on the move. It's Erin Harrison. Saints take it away. Planeta rolls it off to her left. Taken away by Indiana Northwest, and a good solid deflection from the Saints defense. USF in control, and not anymore. One hot pass bounces right to Polzin. Gianna Whitty sends it downfield for Indiana Northwest. All of a sudden, we've got a back and forth going here. Ball staying in the neutral third of the field. The longest stretch of the game we've seen, and it's only been about a minute, but it's the longest stretch of the game we've seen where the Fighting Saints have not had an extended run with the ball. They've got possession right now as Diaz passes across field looking for Planeta and unable to get it to her. So throw in coming up for Nora Lobert. It's intercepted by St. Francis. Lobert has it right back. Passed behind her to a backpedaling Madison Polzin. And now Indiana Northwest starts to push forward again. Far side of the field, they make a run through the midfield. Intercepted by St. Francis. I think that was Litzy Flores who got in front of that last one, or Rochelle Pelayo, actually. And now again, Fighting Saints are struggling to hold on to possession. That defense for Indiana Northwest has stepped up in aggressiveness over the last couple of minutes. Ball knocked loose, stolen by Citlali Perez. Saints have it on the defensive side. Gary passes off to Planeta. Planeta tried to sneak it through, unable to do so. Intercepted by Lobert. Lobert tracks it back down. Knocked ahead. Marissa Paredes is intercepted. Maldonado gets it back for Indiana. 24 minutes to play in the first half. No score. Good defensive game so far, which is about what we expected from two teams that are allowing barely a goal a game. In fact, less than a goal a game between them. St. Francis allows just .71 goals per game. Indiana Northwest allows an even one. So this had the feel of a game from the very start, before it even started really, that one goal could be the decision maker. And I don't think anything has changed in that regard after a little bit over 20 minutes of play. Not saying we're definitely looking at a 1-0 game here, but I will say whichever team scores first is going to be feeling pretty good about where they stand in this one. So throw in for Indiana Northwest at midfield. Far end. Played a lot of close ones lately as well. That's an understatement when it comes to Indiana Northwest. Their games have been really close lately as they work their way into the box. Contact. No penalty called. St. Francis's defense holds strong. Risky challenge, but it pays off for the Saints. On the counter, they make their way down the far side of the field. Pushed ahead to Isabel Diaz. Diaz, one defender in front of her. Rolls it to her right. It's Cara Planeta. Planeta attacks the defender, passes it down into the corner for O'Connor. There's the cross from O'Connor. A shot is deflected. Chance number 2. This one sails over the net. 2 opportunities for Perez to score right there. The first one was deflected by a defender. Good play by the Red Hawks. But a deflection right back to the shooter. She tried it again and wasn't able to get as much on the second attempt as it sailed over the crossbar and out of bounds. So a goal kick for Indiana Northwest. Red Hawks have neither won nor lost any game in the last 2.5 weeks. Their last 4 matchups have all been ties. 1-1 against Trinity Christian, 0-0 at St. Ambrose, and also at home against Olivet Nazarene. And all of a sudden against Holy Cross, one of the top teams in the conference. A goal-scoring bonanza on Sunday actually. They tied with the Saints 3-3 in that game. That's a big result actually as far as St. Francis is concerned, because Holy Cross is the one team that positionally is ahead of them in the CCAC standings. Throw in down the sideline, looking for Aaron Harrison. Planeta knocks it away. Stepping up, Paredes keeps it alive for IU Northwest, but the Saints are able to tackle it away. St. Francis makes a quick move, going left to right, pushed upfield. Gonzalez gives it up to Perez on her left. Perez slows it down. Diaz ahead to Okana. Good challenge from behind Okana. I think that was Harrison who knocked it away from her. Or actually, Lobert is the one who challenged that play. Holy Cross came into play today 1 point ahead of St. Francis in the standings. So the fact that Indiana Northwest scored 3 times on them, which was their second highest total of the season, it's pretty impressive for them. And a big deal for the Fighting Saints in that Holy Cross couldn't get a victory in that one. That's lost out of bounds to the Saints on a throw-in. There are technically 3 teams right now ahead of the Fighting Saints in the conference standings, but 2 of them have 1 more game played than the Saints do. So that's why I say positionally, Holy Cross is the only team ahead of them. That's only true if they win today. With a loss or even a draw today, they will be, in all senses, behind both St. Xavier and St. Ambrose. So a lot to play for late in the season. Okana tries to get around 2 defenders, still in possession of the ball. Pushes herself all the way to the sideline. Lobert knocks it away and out of bounds. Tossed in quickly. Planeta looking for a cross, ends up going short with it. Down to the corner, Okana sends it in front of the net on 1 bounce. It skips past all the Saints, and it's cleared by the Red Hawks. Here's Harrison. Gets around 1 Saint, and now gets around a 2nd Saint. Harrison pushing to the far side of the field, rolls it ahead towards the edge of the box. Turn and a weak shot is picked up by Giselle Mata. Santana just could not get anything on that shot. Turns into a pretty easy stop. Here's Mia Okana passing back to Kara Planeta. Far side of the field, Saints taking their time. Rain continues to fall on what is just a miserable night for soccer, or pretty much anything else weather-wise. But that's what you sign up for when you play an outdoor sport into late October. Crowd a little bit thinner today than it was at last week's game as a result. But you know that anybody who's brave in the conditions to be out here today is passionate. No score, just over 17 minutes to play in the first half. Saints have had a lot more chances early on than the Red Hawks have, but neither team has been able to break through yet. It'll go the Saints' direction on a throw-in right now. Along the sideline, nobody there to receive that pass. So a throw-in coming up for the Red Hawks. Indiana Northwest has done a pretty good job of withstanding that early charge from St. Francis. The first 15 or so minutes of this game, the Saints rarely gave up possession at all. And they still were not able to put one in the net. Doesn't mean they won't have a lot more opportunities today, but it looked over those first 15 minutes like it might be all Saints. Instead, here come the Red Hawks working it into the box, and a shot sails wide towards the sideline, stays in bounds. I think the wind might have helped keep that one in. It's blowing hard across the field from left to right, swirling a little bit as well, but in that moment was going hard from left to right, as evidenced by the flags down in the corner. Just watching the raindrops fall in the lights, I can see that it blowing. It almost seems that sometimes simultaneously to be going in all directions. The flag, by the way, down in the corner has fallen down, so it's not doing me any good anymore in determining which way the wind is blowing. It's blowing hard, though. That is a good indication of that. Free kick for Indiana Northwest will be taken by Ava Haluska. Freshman from Crown Point, Indiana, steps up to it. Sends it towards the back line, off the back of one of her teammates, deflects back outside the box. Saints looking to clear it, and they do for the moment. Indiana Northwest is able to get it right back, though. On the far side, taken away by the Fighting Saints. And now it's the Saints on the move. Indiana's defense doing its best to get back in position as the Saints pick up the pace, rolled to the outside and out of bounds. The pass from Perez, a little bit too far out in front of Ari Gonzalez. So the Saints give it up. Lobbed in along the sideline. Aaron Harrison turns it upfield. Harrison working quickly. Harrison challenging the defense, gets in towards the back line, takes a shot, and shoots at a tough angle, ends up firing it off the side of the net out of bounds. She was trying to free herself up for a shot. Good defense. I think that was Aguirre who was with her step for step. And that forced her to go a little bit further than she wanted to before taking the shot. By the time she finally did get that shot off, she was at a very tough angle and really didn't have a chance to score. So she keeps it out of bounds off the side of the net. And St. Francis decides to play short with the goal kick. Probably the best decision on a night with the wind blowing like this. You never know exactly where it's going to go if you send one deep down the field or try to. It's going to be a factor in this game for sure. Any long kicks, and specifically high kicks, are going to be subject to interference from the wind. Good challenge from the Red Hawks. Santana making their move. Passed into the middle to Harrison, and Harrison can't keep it alive. Good challenge by the Saints this time. The Red Hawks have been able to create more chances in short bursts, and they're trying to do that right now. Paredes looks for the cross, and it's intercepted. The Saints defense has held strong against those short bursts. The Saints chances have come very differently, usually at the tail end of a long possession in which they've been able to hold the ball in all parts of the field. And that's what they're doing right now. Again, working deliberately. Pushed ahead right there to Litzy Flores. Flores tries to tap it ahead and can't hook up with her intended target on that play, Mia Okana. And so Okana takes matters in her own hands, trying to tackle it away from Lobert, and she's called for the foul. So foul called on the Fighting Saints. Free kick coming up for Indiana Northwest. We haven't seen a ton of fouls in this first half. Lobert's kick down the near side of the field. Taken away by the Saints. It's Okana off to Kelly Flores. Flores ahead for Diaz. Isabel Diaz's ball to the far side. It is hauled in. The shot is deflected. Saints get it back. It's Diaz once again. One touch to Flores. Kelly Flores makes a nice move to her left. Back to Diaz, who takes the shot. Ranging to her left, Escalera is able to make the save. So encouraging for St. Francis as they're able to get a shot off. Been a little while since they've had a good run at the net. It was a long-range shot from Isabel Diaz right there. But encouraging for the Redhawks is that they stopped another one. On the sideline, it does end up going out of bounds. Last touched by the Redhawks. Another throw in for the Saints on the far side of the field. St. Francis looks like they made a substitution. I think Ari Gonzalez went off to the bench. Didn't see who came in. I'll check it out in a moment, but first they've got a run going. Flores has it tapped away from her, and it is stolen. I think that's Jimena Diaz who checked in for Gonzalez. This is Marissa Paredes working her way forward for Indiana Northwest. Her pass towards Harrison is not completed. Saints take possession. 10 minutes to play in the first half. Vitzi Flores keeps it in bounds. Passes back to Aguirre. Kelly Flores trying to hook up on the far side of the field with Planeta, and she does. So Kara Planeta has it at midfield for the Fighting Saints. Back to Kelly Flores. Crossfield to Litzy Flores. Again, St. Francis taking their time, trying to make the smart plays, not give up possession. Rolled ahead to Mia Okana. Okana taps it to her left, looking to create space. Pass to the middle of the field. Diaz turns and shoots, and it's a little bit high. I mentioned earlier in this game that Diaz has been a little bit quiet offensively, scoreless the last few games, but despite being scoreless so far today, she's creating a lot of chances. Unfortunately for the Saints, they've all been from 25 plus yards out of the net. So she hasn't gotten any great looks yet, but she's come close to scoring maybe 3 times already in today's game. Fighting Saints ball. Intercepted by Harrison. Aaron Harrison going up against Kelly Flores. Harrison spins and rolls it back in the middle of the field. Flores trying to keep up with her all the way down. Defense has time to get back for St. Francis, and they're able to take it away. Set up by the defense initially of Kelly Flores. Let everybody else get back into position. And the Redhawks at that point really did not have the numbers to make a push. So well played by the Saints, and now they're making their attempt. And it's out of bounds, as that pass was a little bit too far out in front of Sofia Velasquez. But the Saints get it right back on a throw-in. Deflected out by the junior Paredes. Getting late in the first half. We'll see if St. Francis has one big push in them. Maybe a couple big pushes. Who knows? So far, it's been control possession for St. Francis, but don't get a lot of shots off, at least not a lot of good ones. Indiana Northwest has stayed back on defense for the most part. And in doing so, they haven't been able to create a ton of good opportunities for themselves, but what they have done is stood strong at the very back end of the defense when the Saints try to get in tight. Right now, it's the Redhawks trying to make a move. Bodies tangled up, and players hit the ground for both sides, but no foul is called. It was right at the edge of the box. If it had been called, it would have been a penalty kick for Indiana Northwest. If it had been called on St. Francis, could have called that one either way, or not at all, which is the way they ended up going. Redhawks on the attack again. Pass deflected, loose, and stolen by St. Francis. Saints at midfield. Good run for Diaz, but she loses it at the end of the play as Haluska knocks it towards the sideline, and ultimately it's out of bounds off the Saints. Here come the Red Hawks. Harrison once again leading it, running right into 3 defenders, and it's easily poked away. There's been a lot of that tonight as well, and that goes into the defensive game plan I was just talking about with Indiana Northwest. They've done such a good job with that back line on defense. They really only have one attacker forward. That's Erin Harrison, the lone striker, who every time she's made a run has sped down the field and had no help. So there have been a few times where she's looked good right up until she gets close to the box, and all of a sudden there's just nobody there to give it up to. And she typically has run right into the defense. That part of the game working out well for St. Francis. Down into the box, and it'll stay in the box long enough for Mata to pick it up. Looked like it might roll off to the far side, but it hugged that line, so Mata was able to scoop it with her hands. And now with under 5 minutes to play in the half, St. Francis is back to midfield. O'Connor gives it to Aguirre. With the right foot, she launches it downfield, too far out in front of any of her teammates. It rolls harmlessly to a stop right near the back line. Escalera comes in on it. Now Escalera waits for a little bit of pressure before finally picking the ball up. It's been raining off and on for much of the day, but it was dry before the game started until maybe 5 or 10 minutes before 7 o'clock, and it's been raining consistently throughout the entirety of this match so far. Not raining hard, but hard enough for it to be uncomfortable for everybody out there. I don't know how much the weather has impacted the play on the field, but we do have no score. As I said coming in, this was, at least statistically, figuring to be a defensive battle coming into today regardless of weather. The weather hasn't made it any easier to score. A little bit of a slog out there. Flores loses that one-on-one battle with Maldonado. Gabby Maldonado wins possession for Indiana Northwest, and she's tripped up. So a foul called on the Fighting Saints, and this is one of the better free kick opportunities we've seen so far for either team. With about 3 minutes to play, Indiana Northwest has that free kick roughly 35 yards out, slightly to the right of the net. Let's see if they're able to turn this into anything. Ball is positioned by Xiomara Santana. Sophomore midfielder will take the kick. Off her foot towards the net, and it's caught by Mata. It's a high kick. Initially, I thought it might be a little bit too high and go out of bounds, but it curled towards Mata at just the right time. Mata was well positioned for it. Able to deflect it initially and then squeeze it off the first hop. So we're down to our final 2 minutes and change in the first half. And the Saints will try to break through before intermission. Indiana Northwest has tied 4 consecutive games, and right now looks like a very strong possibility that they'll be tied again at halftime of the 5th. So they've got a goal kick coming up. See how they play this with the wind blowing in their faces. It is played short. Saints down the sideline. try to set something up late in the half here. They're still in possession of the ball. Intercepted and cleared by Indiana Northwest. Back to the defense of St. Francis. Rolled to the sideline. And out of bounds. It'll go the other way. This will probably be, just based on the time right now, Indiana Northwest's final push of the first half. And then we'll see if the Saints are able to come up with a stop. And if they have enough time to push one more time towards the net. Straight out of bounds on the throw, so the Saints will indeed have plenty of time as they try to launch one more attack here this half. 45 seconds to play in the first. Let's see Flores along the near sideline. Flores turns her hips, fires the cross, deflected away by Indiana Northwest, and now cleared by the Red Hawks as well. Saints will have one last try. Planeta. Head to her left. Jasmine Baez loses it, intercepted by Indiana Northwest, and the Saints are able to get it right back. Good challenge by St. Francis down to the far corner and knocked out of bounds for a corner kick. St. Francis is going to try to get it off before the end of the half. We're down to 6 seconds as they roll it in for one more shot and out of bounds. So it's halftime. And we are exactly where we were when this game started. 0-0 is our score. Indiana Northwest, who has made an art of playing very close ones, doing it again today. They've tied 4 in a row. St. Francis has likewise been in a lot of close games lately, and they've played a lot of good defense lately. Just 2 goals allowed in their last 4 games total. They have not allowed one through 45 minutes tonight. It's halftime right now. Be 15 minutes on the clock for the intermission, and then we'll be back with some first half stats and the second half action as somebody tries to score a goal and get themselves in the driver's seat in this one. 0-0, St. Francis and Indiana Northwest. Halftime in Joliet. We're just about set to start the second half here at Joliet Memorial Stadium, home of the University of St. Francis Fighting Saints. Terry Bonadonna with you for another half of soccer as the Saints and the Redhawks, after 45 minutes of play, are tied up. No score on either side so far. It's been a rough night weather-wise. It's chilly out there. The rain has been falling, although it's coming down a little bit more softly right now than it did at any point during the first half. It's been very windy as well, which has not made things easy for either side. The Saints overall have dominated possession in this game, but it has not led to dominance in the goals scored column. Some first half stats: the Saints took 11 shots, the Redhawks took 5. Of those 11 shots for St. Francis, 4 of them were on goal. 3 shots on goal for Indiana Northwest, which means obviously 4 saves made by Giselle Mata. 4 saves made by Izzy Escalera, 3 saves made by Giselle Mata. Not a whole lot of fouls in the first half, just 3 called against the Fighting Saints, none against Indiana Northwest. And overall, the officials have been able to keep their whistles to themselves. No offsides called. We have not seen a corner kick in today's game. Well, we did see one at the very end. The last 7 seconds of the first half was the first one. But it has been pretty quiet overall in this game. We'll see if that changes in the second half. Either team puts on a little extra pressure now, looking for that first goal. And well, I think what we know at this point, especially after 45 minutes, could very easily be the game-winning goal. Whoever scores first is going to have a big advantage in this one, as Indiana Northwest tosses it in along the far sideline, immediately deflected right back out by St. Francis. In the first half, the Redhawks took the opening kick, gave it up within 10 seconds. St. Francis took possession, and then it felt like they didn't give it up for about 15 minutes before IUNW finally was able to sustain a few attacks. But for the most part, early on, it was all Fighting Saints. So far here in the second half, Indiana Northwest trying to put a little pressure on the Fighting Saints, but to no avail. And now we'll see if the Saints can launch an attack in the first couple of minutes of half number 2. Kelly Flores is the one in possession right now. Flores making a run on Polzin. Passes off to Mia Okana. Tap to Isabel Diaz. Diaz chips it towards the net, and it's wide to the right and out of bounds. First shot of the second half for Isabel Diaz. She was aggressive in the first half. Didn't get in close at any point, but she took a lot of long-range shots, as she does again to start this half. Diaz leads all players in today's game with 4 shots taken. None of them, though, have been on target. A few of them were very close. She does have 1 shot on goal, and another one hit off the crossbar. Cleared by Indiana Northwest. Back on defense for St. Francis, it's Cara Planeta. Rolled across midfield and tapped back the other way. Gary's pass to the far side of the field is hauled in by Litzy Flores. Cross field from Isabel Diaz. Diaz is able to find Jasmine Valles. 1 touch from Valles, nearly intercepted, tapped right back to her, and her shot is saved on a bounce by Izzy Escalera. Saints aggressive early on here. We're just 2.5 minutes into the second half. They've taken a couple of shots already. Still looking for the big one, though, as that ball goes out of bounds. This is the second consecutive home game for the Fighting Saints, going back to last Wednesday against St. Xavier, in which they were tied at halftime. In that game last week, it was just one big opportunity for the Cougars. A little less than 20 minutes after halftime, that they were able to break through and get the game-winning goal. After getting shut out 1-0 on Wednesday, St. Francis was able to get back on the horse and end up with a shutout win themselves on Saturday, 3-0 over Calumet. Planeta tries to squeeze Santana. Here come the Red Hawks going from left to right, intercepted by St. Francis. Two teams are just trading possessions right now as they go back and forth. My indicator of the wind in the first half is kind of dried up, literally. I just kept looking up at the lights to see which direction the rain was going. The rain has pretty much stopped falling right now. It's still very windy, but it's harder to see just how much it's impacting the game. The reason I bring it up is because I mentioned in the first half we saw a lot more short passes. It was hard to get the ball up in the air. We've been seeing less of that in the second half. Both teams have tried a few more long balls. They haven't really paid off. That's the reason I think we've seen more changes of possession. But right now it's the Saints in control, rolling into the box. A shot is deflected. Goes back the other way. Saints try it again. It's Vaez. Cross field. There's Escalera jumping in front. She falls on top of it. Escalera stepped out of the net to try to save that one. It looked initially like she was going to catch it on the fly. She didn't. Instead, she just knocked it down. It became dangerous for about a half second. And then she was able to fall right back on top of it. So no harm done. Saints are trying to do some harm here, and they might get some help from a foul. First foul of the game called against Indiana Northwest. Nora Lobert was the one who made the tackle. And it's a good place if you're St. Francis to get your first foul call. They're off on the far side of the field, less than 25 yards from the end of the field. So a chance to put one right on target here from Kelly Flores. We'll see if that's what she does or if she tries to cross it to one of her teammates. Flores backs up for the big kick. It's right in front of the net, headed in front of Escalera. And Izzy Escalera is able to come up with it. I think she put that off the head of Isabel Diaz. So Flores, rather than take the shot herself, did try to set up the team's leading goal scorer, and Diaz got her head on it. But Escalera is able to make the stop. We remain scoreless with a little bit over 38 minutes to play in the game. Bounces towards the box, and it's picked up again by Escalera. Able to withstand the run of Ariadne Gonzalez. Gonzalez not able to get there before Escalera did. Saints try it again. Flores fires the shot and a diving save made by Izzy Escalera. Good attempt by Kelly Flores. Saints very aggressive in the first 10 minutes of this second half. They have made Escalera work hard. Izzy Escalera made 4 saves in the first half. She's had to pull off almost the same amount in what is actually so far just 7.5 minutes in the second half. 3 shots on goal this half from St. Francis. A couple of them in just the last minute or two. Throwing on the far side. Are we going to get a substitution first? Charlene Mendoza is on the sideline ready to check in for the Fighting Saints, but she'll come in at the next one. Pass almost intercepted. Not a great one there from Planeta. A chance for Erin Harrison to jump right in front and create a free path for herself, but she just missed it. Saints catch a break, and now we'll see if they can capitalize on their offensive side. Well, not right there. It is taken by Indiana Northwest, and the Saints will try to get back on defense. They'll get an opportunity to right now as a foul is called on St. Francis. Free kick from inside the midfield circle for Indiana Northwest. Santana takes the kick right down the middle of the field, headed away by the St. Francis defense. We're still scoreless. Under 36 minutes to play. On the sideline, Saints keep it alive and inbounds. They slow things down a bit. Let's see, Flores forces it ahead. And that's out of bounds off of the Saints. Nora Lobert lobs it back in. Contact, but no foul called there as the Redhawks try to clear it unsuccessfully. Fighting Saints just can't find an opening in this defense right now. Give them credit for being aggressive this half, but the shots they've been taking have been from tough angles, from tough spots on the field. That goes towards the end line and finally out of bounds. Good box out there by Dusty Stoner. Ensured that nobody else would touch that ball and that it would go out for a goal kick. Mendoza does check in now, and Sofia Velasquez, who came on late in the first half, checks back out. Nice interception by Mendoza off the goal kick. What can the Saints do with this new possession? Flores off to her right. That's also Flores. Let's see, Flores runs into the defense, passes back out. Here's a spin and a pass out of bounds from Isabel Diaz. Saints had the good play off the goal kick, but cough up possession. Kelly Flores passes to Isabel Diaz, and Diaz's pass is behind her intended target. Taken by Indiana Northwest. Saints back on the defensive side. Planeta from Mendoza. Back to the middle of the field, and Aguirre. It's a strong deflection from Paredes, but the Saints do not allow the Redhawks to get a sustained possession going. That's been a theme all night. No matter how good a defensive play the Redhawks make, they're just not able to turn it into an offensive opportunity. Can the Saints do that right here? Diaz dribbles off towards the middle of the field, passes to Kelly Flores, and Flores loses the ball. Just took a bad step around it. And it's Indiana Northwest again. Another interception for the Saints defense. Whistle blows. There's an injured player on the defensive side right now for IUNW. Kendall Karuba, I think, got tangled up with Isabel Diaz a few plays ago and hit the ground. She hasn't been able to get herself back up. So the training staff will come out to have a look at Kendall Karuba. The clock stops at 32 minutes, 36 seconds remaining. No score between St. Francis and Indiana Northwest. The Fighting Saints are 9-3-2 overall this year. 6-2-1 in conference. 19 points coming into play today. Trailing both St. Xavier and St. Ambrose by 2 points in the conference standings, but with a game in hand. 1 point behind Holy Cross, who has played an equal number of games. Earlier this evening, Holy Cross defeated Governor State. Final score there was 2-0. St. Xavier beat Viterbo 4-2. So the teams that are currently in the lead in the conference are getting the results they need. The other team to look at was St. Ambrose, and the Fighting Bees are winning their game tonight. That's 2-1 right now, and they, like us, are in the second half. Actually, taking another look right now. Looks like they did just go final. So 3-1. St. Ambrose defeated Trinity Christian. That's a final score. So St. Ambrose, St. Xavier, and Holy Cross are all victorious tonight. St. Francis will need a win to keep pace. They're in good position right now to get a result, get at least 1 point. As Karuba is helped up, she's walking off the field on her own. Just a slight limp right now, so hopefully she's okay. Once she makes it to the sideline, we'll be ready to continue this one. It's the first time we've had a stoppage in today's game. I think the weather is such that anytime you get banged up, it feels a little bit worse. And especially because the weather's been so good so far this fall that today, high 40s and rainy, it's going to be unpleasant no matter what, but considering it was 80 degrees 3 days ago, and that's pretty much been the standard lately, I think today is made to feel that much worse. A little bit of a shock to the body. But we haven't seen too many players with muscles tightening up or anything like that. So far, so good in that regard. Karuba is out for the moment with that injury. We continue play with St. Francis in possession. Near side of the field, it's Cara Planeta. Planeta dribbles it up to midfield. Passes forward, intercepted. Given right back to Charlene Mendoza. Here come the Saints again. Diaz rolls it ahead. Wild pass between two defenders, and the defenders are able to come away with it. Nia Okana has the ball back for the Saints. Rolled it between the legs of Paredes. Keeps the possession alive for St. Francis. Here's Jasmine Valles. Valles challenges the defender Santana, and Santana comes away with the steal. Good tackle from Xiomara Santana. Flores sends it in front of the net. Headed once, but knocked free right in front of the net. The goalie was out, but a good defensive play by Indiana Northwest is able to keep the shutout intact as the ball rolls out the back line for a corner kick. Really dangerous play right there for the Red Hawks, but they're able to come up with the stop, and the Saints will have to try it again from the corner. Just the second corner kick of the game for the Fighting Saints. The Red Hawks don't have any. Set up by Kelly Flores. Flores in front of the net sets up Diaz, who takes a wild shot. Out of bounds for a goal kick. That looked like it was set up cleanly for Isabel Diaz and just didn't have a good look at it. I think her body was turned as that ball came towards her, and she never really got back at a good angle to get the shot off. And so it was well wide to the right. Nothing for Indiana Northwest to really have to worry about. We remain scoreless. An hour into this one now. About 30 minutes still to play. And still no goals on the board. Aaron Harrison's going to try to change that. Harrison takes it into the teeth of the St. Francis defense, takes a shot and scores. Aaron Harrison gets Indiana Northwest on the board and breaks up the shutout 1-0. The Red Hawks are in front. 30 minutes, 1 second showing on the clock. That's what we've been seeing throughout this game. Saints have had these long possessions and nothing to show for it. And then Indiana Northwest will try to counter. And they've had some really good opportunities on those counterattacks. Obviously none better than that one. Harrison scores her 4th goal of the season. She's 3rd on the team in that category. 3rd on the team as well with 10 points overall. Good run from Harrison. And now we'll see if the Saints have a response. They might have to get a little bit more aggressive, although they've been pretty aggressive already. First time that the Red Hawks have ever scored against St. Francis over the last 5 years. Saints had been 5-0, outscoring them 20-0. But a huge goal right there. Not only gets them on the board finally, but gives them the lead. Saints have their work cut out for them. A tie for the Saints today is not a bad result. It would still get them a point. But in their pursuit of a conference championship, they really could use a win. They've kind of got their backs against the wall if they're not able to come away with it in terms of winning that championship. Just a couple of games remaining. Regular season wraps up next week, and then the conference tournament will follow the next week after that. Diaz off to her right. Passed ahead to Mia Okana. Okana along the sideline has the ball tackled away from her and ends up falling out of bounds. Last touch by Okana. Throw in here for the Red Hawks. That's out of bounds. Midfield going back the Saints' way. The good news for the Saints right now, knowing even that they're down by 1 goal, is that they have had no shortage of chances in this game. They still have pretty significantly outshot the Red Hawks. 19-6 is the total right now. So even though nothing's gone through for them yet, there's reason for optimism in the thought that they will be able to get on the board eventually. And again, now you just look at the fact that if you're the Fighting Saints, you need 2 goals. Like I was just saying, 1 would get you the tie, which would be good. But if you want to win that conference championship, probably going to need to score 2 today, and they've got 27 minutes to do it. Foul is called on St. Francis here. Free kick will be taken by Ava Haluska. Freshman handles most of the set pieces for Indiana Northwest. Redhawks slowly working their way down the field right now. And they can afford to work a little bit more slowly if they want to, trying to protect this lead. This is not a team that scores a ton of goals to begin with. They thrive on defense. Although, having said that, the last time they won a game was a 7-0 final. That was against Indiana South Bend. That was at the beginning of the month, October 1st. Since then, they've lost 1 and tied 4. And in that 5-game stretch, they've only scored 4 goals. 3 of them came their last time out. So it's not a team that scores a lot. It is a team that I think oftentimes feels like if they get 1, they should win. 6 shutouts on the season for Izzy Escalera. She's working on a 7th right now. A little bit over 25 minutes away from it. Isabel Diaz heads to the bench right now for St. Francis, just getting a little bit of a rest late in the game so that she'll be ready to go down the stretch. Saints get a throw in from the far corner. They're creating a chance here. Okana passes back. The ball chipped into the box and headed away by the Red Hawks. Flores. 1 dribble to the right to get around Maldonado. Passes to Okana. Tapped loose of her, but she chases it down, keeps possession alive. Saints still working here. And not anymore. Good challenge from Maldonado. That's out of bounds off of Indiana. Flores slows it down, cuts it back to her right. Flores passes in front of the net, deflected. Back to the general area of where Flores took that shot. Out of bounds for a St. Francis throw. That'll be a goal kick this time. Pushed a little bit too quickly by the Fighting Saints. And they come up empty on that run down the field. So the Saints are still looking for their first goal. Still keeping the ball on this side of the field. See if they can turn it into a good chance. Juju Bozanovsky pushes it ahead for Indiana Northwest. Aaron Harrison, who scored the lone goal a few minutes ago. Harrison makes another run of the box, takes another shot, and this time it hits off the wrong side of the net. Out of bounds for a goal kick. Harrison gets awfully aggressive when she's able to find herself in some open space. The goal she scored in the 60th minute was an absolutely perfect shot. Drilled right past Giselle Mata. That last one was similarly at a very difficult angle. She was not able to get a perfect shot off that time. Partially, I think, because she was to the left of the net. But the Saints' defense on the goal they allowed was in an okay position. They had two defenders right near her. She was just able to create for herself. That's a good deflection by the Indiana Northwest defense. Saints will try it again. Here's a Shell Pelayo working it down the field and deflected out of bounds for a goal kick. We're more than halfway through this second half, meaning we're more than 3/4 of the way through the match. Not quite desperation time just yet for the Fighting Saints, but we're not far away from it. They're going to need a goal relatively quickly. We approach the 70th minute of today's game. To the near side. Valles' pass is deflected, stays in bounds. Kara Planeta tries to step up on it, but Harrison gets there first. Planeta is able to challenge Harrison. Good play by the defense of St. Francis. Planeta was able to get right in front of her, and Harrison hit the ground, trying to recover to get back in the play, to no avail. Nora Lobert knocks it off the foot of Litzy Flores and out. Flores will get a throw in. That's cleared by the Redhawks. Back in possession of USF. Kelly Flores to her right takes a long-range shot, and it's out of bounds. Nearly 40 yards out that time, so that was a tough one. She ends up missing her target, out of bounds for a goal kick. Goal kick sent away towards Santana. Kelly Flores has it for the Saints. Pushed ahead, passed back in the direction of Flores, but she can't reach it. Knocked away by the defense. Planeta tracks it down for the Saints. Valles down towards Mendoza, and jumping in front of Mendoza is Whitty. Gianna Whitty is able to force it out the sideline. Saints will try it again. Here's O'Connor. Knocked away from her. Harrison. This time has 4 defenders in front of her, no help on offense. She's tripped up from the side. Kelly Flores is called for the foul. Harrison has had those opportunities where she's just gotten it and gone, but that time she really didn't have anything promising in front of her. There were 4 defenders, including Flores. And there was no offensive help in front of her, so probably an unnecessary foul there on Flores. I think Harrison was going to run into a wall, even if Flores had let her go. Instead, it's a free kick from just beyond midfield for Eva Haluska. Right down the middle of the field, deflected once, twice by the Saints, and brought in by Mendoza, who claims possession, but only for a quick moment. She tried to hook up with Valles, but rolled it out of bounds instead. Throw in for Gianna Whitty, who steps up from the defense. Lobbed in over Harrison's head. Harrison's able to chase it to the back line. There's her cross, and there's nobody there to receive it as it goes out of bounds. Coming into today, Xiomara Santana and Gabby Maldonado were the 2 leading goal scorers on the Redhawks, and coming out of today, they still will be, I think. 5 goals apiece for them. Harrison only had 3 of them coming in, but if you just watched today's game, you would think that Harrison, with no other context, was probably their leading goal scorer because she's the only one who's really pushed it down the field. That's just the style of play for Jamie McNicholas, playing with 1 forward up today. And that one striker has been Harrison. Most of the good scoring chances have been created by her, or at least finished off by her, whether or not she was the creator. She's out in front of the pack here. Harrison going one-on-one with Cara Planeta. Makes a move to her right, trying to set up a shot. Takes it and just misses this time. Wide to the right. That was a scary moment for the Fighting Saints with 17 minutes to play in this game. A second goal might have finished them off. It's already been hard to try to come back from 1 goal down. And Harrison nearly doubled the lead. Isabel Diaz is back in for St. Francis. She was out for the last 8 minutes or so, recharging the batteries, and is ready for the stretch run. Leading goal scorer on the team, tied for the most goals in the conference coming into play today. To the penalty box and sent to the sideline, kept in bounds by the Fighting Saints. Fight for the ball over on the far side. It was won initially by Eva Haluska and cleared by Gabby Maldonado. Good defensive play by Haluska, stopping the Saints in their tracks. St. Francis is to restart now on defense, starting with their goalkeeper. Here's Valles. Tapped ahead. Back to Planeta. Long ball from Planeta. Nobody there wearing gold. So easily intercepted. Diaz gets it back, though, over to Okana. There's Kelly Flores in the middle of the field. Flores makes a move around Maldonado. Takes the shot, deflected, right back to Isabel Diaz. Diaz slips on the wet turf, regains her footing, keeps possession of the ball, and finds Flores behind her. Kelly Flores looks to her right, passes in that direction. There's the cross. Back to Diaz. The shot is wide to the left. One of the better looking shots of the day from Isabel Diaz. She's been close so many times. Hasn't been able to get one in. 15 minutes to play, 1-0 still, Indiana Northwest on top. Saints will try it again. Tap to the near sideline. Down near the corner, it's knocked out of bounds. Last touch by the Saints. Substitution for Indiana Northwest. Piper Ellenberger is in. Erin Harrison's the one going off. She has been the offense today for the Redhawks. The only goal scorer. So I don't know if she is just getting a rest right now, going a little bit more defensive down the stretch. If we'll see her again. Chance for St. Francis into the box and knocked out of bounds by Gianna Whitty. St. Francis will throw it in again on the near side. Flores intercepted. Trying to find Okana. Couldn't sneak it through. Kept in bounds by Diaz, taking it away from Ellenberger. But the Saints lose it out of bounds. Whitty tosses it in long and knocked out by Maldonado. Even after trailing in this game 1-0, not much feels like it's changed for the Saints. They're still keeping possession a lot. They're still not getting a lot of clean looks at the net. Citlali Perez is back in for St. Francis. Perez is the one who scored those 2 goals against Calumet St. Joe's this past weekend. That was a 3-0 shutout win for the Saints. Kelly Flores towards the near sideline. Valles made a run at it, and I think she misjudged where that pass was going to land. She ended up overrunning it. Out for a Redhawks throw. Headed towards the middle of the field and tracked down by the Fighting Saints. It has felt at times like the Saints are playing with a one-player advantage. They have gotten to so many of those 50-50 balls all throughout the night. I think it's more of just because of how conservative the game plan has been for Indiana Northwest. That's sent in front of the box. Tap back. There's a shot. And it's high over the net from Perez, out of bounds. I've been talking about it all night. The strategy has been just Harrison, the one striker forward. And when they've been able to come up with a stop and create a counterattack, they've had some good chances that way. But it has not been a priority for the Redhawks today to control possession or set up any offensive plays other than those counterattacks that we've seen. And it's worked out well for them because their defense has stayed strong. Saints are controlling the midfield. They're keeping the ball on this side of the field consistently, and they're just not getting great looks at the goal. Far sideline. Out for a Redhawks throw. Flores tries to steal it, but can't take it away. She does, however, help the Saints take possession back as it's knocked out of bounds for a throw-in. Just 11 minutes to play in this game. Saints are running out of time, trailing 1-0. Big kick from Aguirre down the middle of the field and intercepted there by Bozanovsky. Good challenge. Here comes Diaz and the Fighting Saints. A shot deflected before it gets to the net. Good defensive play by Gianna Whitty. She threw her chest in front of it. I think had the wind knocked out of her a little bit, but she's back in the play. Valles sends it in front of the net. Deflected by Bozanovsky. And out of bounds once again. Maldonado pushes it to the sideline. Saints will toss it in again. Valles working quickly to Diaz. Diaz launches it towards the middle of the field. Taking one step over to the right. A shot is in for the goal. And we're tied at 1. Mia Okana is able to tie it up with 9:55 remaining as St. Francis erases a late deficit, and now they'll have a chance to secure a win with another goal. Indiana Northwest may have to go back on the attack. Erin Harrison is back in the game, and she is immediately attacking. Redhawks looked to be in such good shape to pick up their first win in a while. But now they might be on their way to their 5th consecutive tie. This ball's knocked away from Harrison and out of bounds for an Indiana Northwest throw-in. Goal was scored by Okana, her 8th of the year. Places her 2 behind Isabel Diaz for the team lead. She ranks 2nd on the Saints. Saints take possession on defense. Down the sideline, out of bounds. See if the Redhawks are able to turn up the offense here. They really haven't had it going for most of the game aside from that one good run from Harrison. They've had other plays individually, but just hasn't come consistently. Free kick here for the Fighting Saints. Flores, who will be taking it from about 5 yards back of midfield. Flores pushes it downfield, headed away. Headed back and forth. The Saints try to control possession, but can't. Pushed ahead to Harrison. Off the first touch from Harrison, Flores takes it away, and Flores knocks it loose. Here comes Diaz. Diaz pushes it off to her left, and Jasmine Valles. There's the cross from Valles. Knocked free. Loose in the box. Bodies flying all over the place. No whistle. Play goes on. St. Francis gets it back in the midfield circle. Aguirre sends it high into the box. Again, Saints down on the ground. This time they maintain possession as the pass is sent in tight. Defenders all around. The ball's knocked loose. Perez tries to chase it down. Pushed away from her, out of bounds on the far sideline. Into the box once more. There's a header in front of the net. Picked up on a hop by Izzy Escalera, who has had a good game. She's not going to get that shutout. But the senior from Waukegan, Illinois, has made some good plays, and now she's just working on maintaining a tie score. Here's Okana, who scored the goal in the 81st minute. Pushing it to the back line again. That's deflected and covered up by Escalera. Another good play by Escalera on a good run from Mia Okana as she looked to put St. Francis in the lead for the first time. That's out of bounds, going the other way. I think we got a foul on St. Francis called there. So a free kick for Indiana Northwest with exactly 6 minutes remaining. 1-1 tie. Saints head to Governor's State on Friday. There's a shot, diving stop by Giselle Mata. She's able to knock it out of bounds. We got a corner kick coming up. First one of the day for Indiana Northwest. Comes in the 85th minute. Just 2 games remaining after this, at Governor's State on Friday and then back home next week. That's next Wednesday against Indiana South Bend. To have any chance of winning the conference, you'd figure they'd need to win both of those, regardless of what happens here today. Kick is taken by Haluska, headed away by the Fighting Saints. Down under 5 minutes to play. O'Connor works her way across the field to the near side and passes back to Kara Planeta. Planeta, unchallenged, takes a few dribbles herself, moving across the midfield stripe and back ahead to O'Connor, buying a little time for the offense to get set up. Headed backwards. This is Kelly Flores. Around one defender, Flores takes the shot, and Escalera is there to make the save. Been a bunch of those tonight for Escalera. She's made a lot of saves. Some of them have been really impressive. A lot of them have been on shots from a long distance, just like that last one from Flores. The defense has been in so tight for Indiana Northwest. The Saints have settled for a lot of shots that are probably not ideal for them, but they're just trying to put pressure on the goalkeeper, and they're succeeding in that regard. But not getting the desired results for the most part, despite far outshooting the Redhawks tonight. They've got just a few chances left with under 4 minutes to play. Diaz passes to Perez. One touch over to O'Connor, and she's not able to free herself up to get a shot. 11 saves tonight for Izzy Escalera, so it's been a tough day for her. The Saints finally did get to her in the 81st minute. Here's Diaz. O'Connor near the sideline. Back to Kelly Flores. Flores surveys the situation and loses the ball as it's deflected out of bounds for a St. Francis throw. Tossed into Diaz. 2 defenders there. Diaz takes the shot, and it's wide to the right. We got a goal kick. Tied up at 1. Erin Harrison scored her fourth goal of the season in the 60th minute. Nia O'Connor answered with her 8th goal of the season in the 81st minute. And that's the offense we've seen today. And we're running out of time to see more. Approaching the 2-minute mark. A couple of players ran into each other. The ball is loose for the Fighting Saints. There's a shot and a nice save by Escalera. Gonzalez took the shot after there was a little bit of confusion. 3 players down there just all going after the ball, ran into each other. 2 of them were wearing red, which created an opening for Ari Gonzalez. And her shot was saved by Escalera. Good play by the goalkeeper. And will the Saints get another chance to win this game? We'll find out. Pushed ahead and cleared by the Redhawks. Will the Redhawks get another chance to win this game? Chances are not so much in their favor just based on recent play. They haven't had possession on their attacking side in several minutes. But they've got it right now. Harrison surrounded by yellow shirts, and she has the ball knocked away from her. She's called for a foul after tripping up Kelly Flores. Knocked out of bounds. Saints get the throw. Probably their last chance coming up. We're down under a minute to play. Can they send one more push towards the goal? Litzy Flores passes forward towards the back line. Long run. There's the cross to the back post. A header deflected away right in front of the net, and it's out of bounds for a goal kick. That might just do it. The clock's, I think, going to stop here with an injured player down. Escalera looks to be the injured player. 26 seconds left, which might give either one of these teams one more chance. Somehow the Saints were unable to score there. They had a couple of chances right in front of the net. Good defensive plays by Indiana Northwest. Escalera had fallen out of the play after making the initial stop, and the ball was loose right in front of the net. They had one shot that was deflected and another one right in front of the net that was just off the side of somebody's foot and out of bounds. I think that if Indiana Northwest had their druthers, they would have just taken their time and pretty much let the clock run out. But because Escalera was down, they had to stop the clock, and now the Saints will have one more chance. Tipped at the edge of the box. Can they get another shot off? Working to get one for Diaz. Isabel Diaz turns. Her shot is saved by Escalera, and that'll do it. So we're tied at 1. That's our final score. A good come-from-behind tie for St. Francis. Not the result they were hoping for, but they do get 1 point out of it, thanks to the late heroics from Mia Okana, who scored the goal in the 81st minute. Aaron Harrison scored the first goal of the game. It took her until the 1 hour mark. 30 minutes and 1 second were on the clock. So it was almost exactly 60 minutes into the game that she was able to break the scoreless tie. St. Francis outplayed Indiana Northwest all throughout this one. And if you look at the stats, which we're going to do in just a moment, you would think that they probably won this game by 2 or 3 goals at least. But Indiana Northwest defense did the job they had to when it got down tight towards the goal. In the end, St. Francis outshot IUNW by 26. 35-9. Shots on goal were 15-5 in favor of the Fighting Saints. So domination in that regard, but 14 saves made by Izzy Escalera helped their cause. Giselle Mata made 4 saves for the Fighting Saints on those 5 shots on goal from Indiana Northwest. Final total on fouls, 7 for the Saints, 4 called against the Red Hawks. Each team had 1 corner kick in that second half, which echoes the final scores. Each team scored 1 goal in the second half as well. With that tie, Indiana Northwest continues to get the same result over and over and over again. That's their 5th consecutive game tied. This one at 1-1 for the Saints. The 5th time in their last 6 games that they get a result. 1 point on the board for them as their record goes to 9-3-3 overall this year, 6-2-2 in conference play. The Red Hawks go to 4-3-9 overall. They have tied in more than half their games this season. They are 2-2-6 in conference. They've tied in more than half of their conference matches this year as well, including, as I mentioned before, 5 consecutively for them. They got their first goal ever against St. Francis tonight, so that's a feather in their cap after they had been shut out in their last 5 meetings all time against the Fighting Saints. Again, our final score today is 1-1. Both teams on the road for the next one. The Saints go to Governor State. The Red Hawks go to Mount Mary's. For St. Francis, the next home game coming up next week, it'll be the season closer against Indiana South Bend. That'll be our next broadcast of St. Francis soccer as well. Again, our final score today, 1-1. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, this is Terry Bonadonna signing off for the University of St. Francis. Have a good night.